Our justice correspondent, Candace Kelley, joins us now. Good morning to you, Candace. Yesterday was a long day. Good morning. A triggering day as well. Do we know how long the prosecution's rebuttal will take today?
You know, more than likely about an hour and a half based upon the math that they gave them, as the prosecution had 3 hours for opening and there were three closings by the defense here. So she's once again going to take her time and walk us through those facts like she did just yesterday.
Walk us through the defense closing arguments, and let's start with the long, dirty toenails and the impact you think it had. Clearly coded language to a jury of 11 white people, 1 person of color.
Absolutely. Listen, you have somebody talking about toenails at a time where somebody is dead. And the toenails represented that this was someone who could not take care of himself, someone who was not taken care of, someone who might have had some type of a mental illness or disposition, someone who was just wayward and didn't know what they were about. And just this stereotype that Black people just are unclean animals. And that's where this went. And this is why we heard a verbal, wow, I know I heard it, in the middle of this courtroom. And as I was taking notes, I thought, yeah, I wasn't sure. And I said, I was taking notes. I thought to myself, I'm not sure what these toenails had to do with the case or if it was even ever brought up, which is one of the things that attorneys have to follow in terms of those rules. So I couldn't make sense of it till I made sense of it to say this was just really a dig. This was just something that she thought would get the jurors' attention. But listen, Sharon, the way that we are all reacting, and I think that any mother and her child, right? Because this is a mother who clipped that son's toenails when he was a baby. I don't think that it sat well with the jury at all. It was offensive, it was off-putting, and we heard Lee Merritt say yesterday that this is really the time where we call the Georgia State Bar Association. Certainly, Sharon, we had the opportunity and reason to do it way before now, but this was just unacceptable. This was the bottom pit barrel of how you actually go about defending your client.
Yeah, you can't shimmy much lower under the bar that she set yesterday. But let's talk about and dig deeper, because this self-defense argument where Mr. Goff, attorney for William Roddy Bryant, suggested that even an unarmed Black man who is running away is dangerous and you have to protect yourself and even use deadly force against him. Will that resonate? And are there any second guesses this morning about William Roddy Bryant, that he should have been separated from the other 2 at trial?
Sharon, if you remember, a lot during the closing arguments, there were objections to various parts of the closings on both sides because they wanted to make sure that the facts were right and that the law was right. And the judge said, we're going to leave it up to the jurors to remember the facts and law as I give them during jury instructions. If that plays out the way that it is supposed to, if these jurors paid attention to the facts and will follow the law in terms of the jury instructions, there is no way that the defense can come out a winner. There is no way that you can say to yourself, listen, slow down, I need to catch up with you so I can defend myself. That makes absolutely no sense when it comes to the law. In addition to the fact that you have this idea that you have to either be present at the time of said particular felony, or it has to be something that you suspected highly happened. None of this happened in their presence, and so there's no reason why they were to go over to Ahmaud Arbery and follow him in that way. Second part of your question, dealing with this whole idea of severing Roddy from the case, William Roddy Bryant. We heard this more than a half a dozen times. This should be severed. The reason this is important is because if the attorney, Kevin Goff, can convince the jury that he was not a party to this crime, then he has the opportunity to get off on lesser charges in terms of other things that might be considered. This is why we heard the judge talk about reckless driving, because that would apply to Roddy and it would apply to Travis, adding lesser charges. But if he can prove that Roddy Bryant was not a party to the case, then he has the opportunity to either go home or to get out of there with lesser charges. Whether or not that will happen, I don't know, because he was part of the false imprisonment. His car did corner in like a rat Ahmaud Arbery. I do not see that there is any way that he can get out of that felony, which is one of the underlying felonies for the felony murder in this case, Sharon.
All right, well, it's going to play out today. We'll see how long the jury deliberates in this case. But let's turn to Kyle Rittenhouse, a free man, smiling, leaving prison, and then right into that interview with Tucker Carlson and Fox. Let's play a little bit for you.
This case has nothing to do with race. It never had anything to do with race. It had to do with the right to self-defense.
Right.
I'm not a racist person. I support the BLM movement. I support peacefully demonstrating.
You first, Candace.
I was just about to say, who's first on this, Sharon? Because, listen, this is a young man that knows that he is free, and he knows that the evidence, or the evidence that was not allowed in court, gave him the opportunity to say something as preposterous as what he did, that he supports the Black Lives Matter movement, when even while on bail, he was seen taking pictures with white power enthusiasts and people who threw up signs that aligned with white power. This is someone who has been online talking about how he wished that he could have taken out someone. This is someone who thought that this was the protest, that he needed to get his mother to drive across state lines in order to protect a place that he was not asked to protect. And now he's saying that he supports the Black Lives Matter movement. Can he be serious? I think he takes himself seriously. He also looked like someone who had a bright future ahead of him. This is someone who they say might run for office. This is someone who we know has many internship opportunities available to him. This is someone who's going to continue and perhaps finish at Arizona State University. This is what I saw, someone who on the stand was making it up as he went along, and he continued to make it up on that interview with Fox News.
Yeah, it's interesting, Candace, because I saw in the wide shot two men soaked in white privilege. And one of the things about white privilege is it does allow you to rewrite history. It allows you to rewrite history and go on and have enormous opportunity. We'll be following.
Very comfortable about
what
it.
else? Yeah, comfortable. So comfortable. You're right, Candace. We'll keep following. Well, the Brunswick case is top of mind this morning, and then we will continue to see what else Kyle Rittenhouse says and goes on to do. He's free to do it in America.